Family planning is something which either we usually talk with our family members or close friends in our environment. So, however, we'll be doing this interesting topic for all of you Bujang or married people out there. And we have MJ Tan here with us today. Welcome to the show, MJ.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And, MJ, you are also known as a value investor mom. What is a value investor mom?
Basically, I'm a mother now. I have a 11 months old daughter, and I practice value investing as one of my major investment. So basically, to prepare for family as a family to retire, as well as to prepare for my child for her future. It may be education or her lifestyle, or maybe she wants to be a business person as well.
That's interesting. A long-term planning for her, even before she was born, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Now the first question I want to ask for the day
Yeah.
is, what do I need to consider as I recently just got married and I want to know more before I even decide to have a kid?
That's a very interesting question. Before anyone wants to have a child, me and my husband, we actually talk a lot. Any topics like finance or parenting or having a kid or not, because having a child is actually a pretty long-term commitment. It may not be a lifetime because your kid will grow up and then they will, explore themselves. They'll be independent maybe after 18 years old. But it's still a good conversation to start with your spouse, whether why now? Is it urgent to have a child now? Are you ready to have a child as a person or a family? What about, let's say, financial standings? How are the husband and wife at the moment? Is it okay, or is there anything I need to work on? Examples like that. Because having a child is not like, you remember Tamagotchi? We used to play. Having a child is not a Tamagotchi. It's like we cannot reset, because once it's out, it will be at least a minimum of 18 years before they leave us and be dependent and go into their own journey. And so yeah, maybe I can give you a few examples, so questions that you can ask each other about why now. Is it because of the body clock? How old are the both wife and husband at the moment? Also, maybe can discuss how will this affect you as a couple when a child comes. Financial wise can be one. Or what sort of values that is important in your family now that you would like to pass down to your children? And one very important question is like, what's your ideal family number? Is it like 10 or 6, or are you happy with just 2 kids? Yeah, these are good questions to talk about.
But it's important, I think, it's to discuss this, because to have a kid is not just one of the parent, it's both the parents, right?
Yes.
So there has been debate also when it comes to breastfeeding or formula milk. So what's your take on this? Actually, what are the pros and cons, and which one should they go for?
Okay, disclaimer here, I am a pro breastfeeding advocate. So according to the World Health Organization, infants should be breastfed exclusively for the first 6 months. Only breast milk. There's no water, no other solid foods. That's the first 6 months of life, because our bodies are amazing. We actually generate the necessary nutrients for the babies for the first 6 months of life. Yeah, but most mothers, if not all, will actually love to be able to breastfeed their babies. But I do understand that there are mothers that went through certain struggles which leads to unable to breastfeed their babies as long as they want. Understand that breastfeeding is actually simple, but it's not easy. It takes both mom and baby to learn a skill. Like generally new mom, I am a new mom, so it took me almost a month to really learn the skill how to offer breast milk to my baby naturally by direct latching, and the baby needs to learn as well how to latch correctly. Yeah, it can be really challenging and exhausting, especially at the first 2 weeks. So imagine mothers who just given birth, the body is already so tired, and on top of recovering from the long hours of labors, the wound, the injuries, maybe natural or C-section, then the mother needs to continue to go through the nursing struggles and the hormonal fluctuations. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how many times I broke down and cried during the first month of confinement. Yes.
Is it true that people might say when you do breastfeeding, you can actually save costs compared to, when you buy the formula milk, which might cost a lot of money?
Oh yes, actually, you may be surprised. Breastfeeding for 2 years actually can save you up to about 15,000 ringgit Malaysia. But it depends on which brand of formula milk that you want to go for. Yeah, I didn't pluck these numbers from the skies. There is a article written by a US surgeon who shared this online. Yeah. And then I have mothers who might ask me, then what about breast pump? Aren't they expensive?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Breast pump were a luxury back then. My sister gave birth to my nephew 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. That time, a manual breast pump cost about 4 figure because it was a new item by then. But now, breast pump, the electronics ones, you can get it at a decent 3 figure price.
The technology improved and everything, so they also know how to
And
cost it cheaper already.
yeah, the
I
supply
see.
and demand is more balanced now. If I can share this, there is this shop. It's called Pump on the Go. They are around Klang Valley. They actually allow mothers to be at the shop to test out different breast pump before you decide to buy. So because our bodies may not respond to certain breast pumps so effectively, so you actually can test it out. Then you see which one works for your body best before you buy one. So I find that shop is pretty decent. Yeah. It's getting more fancy nowadays. There are wireless breast pumps that you can basically pump on the go.
Okay. How about when it comes to the hospital before the mother gives birth, should they go for government or private? Which is a better option to pick?
I wouldn't say which is a better one, but in fact, Malaysia, we actually have a pretty good healthcare system. You can opt for, I've been to two. So one of the place that we can go for a prenatal checkup is, they call it KK, Klinik Kesihatan. So you have to let them know where you stay, and they will actually they allocate you to the nearest to where you stay, and you actually can go for check for free. Just that, of course, there will be longer queues in the morning and in the afternoon. Yeah. So even when the baby arrives, for certain vaccines, they actually give it for free for their children. But there's only a limited few. So if you want the extra vaccines, you may need to go for private. So private checkup, of course, it will cost, I think, about 200 per checkup. Yeah, that is for the checkup on prenatal side. If you are referring to delivery, labor-wise, government, we have a few options here. You can either go for private, but private, of course, the cost-wise will be higher, especially if you need to go for a cesarean. Cesarean definitely in a private will cost about 5 figures. If it's a natural delivery without any tools like forceps or vacuum, that will range between about 3,000 to 8,000. It also depends on how premium the hospital is. Medical insurance, personally, it doesn't work on delivery and labor.
I see.
It's not covered. So even if we were to purchase a prenatal insurance, it covers when there is a complication. It does not cover the labor or delivery process. Yeah. So examples of complications could be baby have high jaundice, or during pregnancy time, mother have gestational diabetics. This kind of situation, they may consider to cover.
Will they be able to buy this just a few months before the delivery, or it's better that they plan it way earlier before that?
You can only buy a prenatal insurance when you are pregnant. So it is up to a parent to decide whether you want to buy it at the early trimester or at the second or late trimester. So if you buy it early, because it is unsaid, but it is actually very common for ladies to go through miscarriages during the first 3 months, because that's the most high risk one, or is my most fragile. So they may or may not want to go through that, and you can only claim a death insurance when it passed a certain week. So that is one thing to consider. And if you want to get it later on, provided the mother does not have any underlying medical conditions. It's just like when we buy our insurance, if we personally have any underlying medical conditions, they may not approve the policy. So that is one criteria that you want to consider before. Let's say if you want to choose to buy in the later trimester, they may need more details, whether is your body okay, is the baby okay.
But it's a one-off thing, or is a monthly payment like any other insurance that you know?
So far, what I've understand is prenatal insurance, or even the baby's insurance after baby is delivered, is investment link type policy. So it's a monthly or or quarterly reoccurring premiums. Let's say if you were to purchase a prenatal insurance, right? After the baby is delivered, you actually can, there is either it's automatically converted into a simple medical card, or you can actually make a changes so that it's a continuation protection for your child.
Until he's born, and he or she is born, and then we can
you continue to pay, and it acts as a medical card.
Oh, wow, interesting.
So
it's something first time for me.
Yes, yeah. So I actually will recommend, if financial wise, a husband and wife is okay, it's good to have a protection for a child. So
Yep, definitely. All right. After this, I'll be asking MJ more interesting questions. So we'll be right back after the break. And we're back with MJ, our expert of the day, to talk about how much does it cost to have a kid. So MJ, would you plan for the kids to be homeschool or send them to government private school? You know, what are the extracurricular activities such as music or robotics that you might want to expose them to?
This question. I've been in the education industry for more than a decade now. So before I go into that, I would like to clarify the term homeschool. As I've noticed, there might be a lot of misunderstanding between homeschool versus private learning centers. The term homeschool actually means that the parent themselves guides the kids' learning at home, subject targeted or not, which is not the same as maybe going to a house or a learning center where you have classmates learning together with you. Those are considered as learning centers or private centers, private schools. So so that is one. So as an educator myself, I do understand there are many gaps needed to be filled or mended with our current education systems. How should I put it? I do my best to play with her, my daughter, or having an indoor and outdoor activities with her, but I don't think I would homeschool my daughter. One of the biggest reason is she may be like, this will actually causes her to miss out a lot of social interactions. And yes, and we know that human connection is actually one of the important criteria for us to thrive or to grow. And during this situation, we all know that speaking at screen or behind a computer is different from really having a face-to-face interaction. So that is one of the main criteria. I would not send my daughter for homeschool. I would not homeschool my daughter. Yes. With regards to those extracurricular like music, arts, or robotics, I think I'll have to see whether my daughter is interested in any of those, because it's not us to decide what is good for them. It's eventually whether if they really want to pick up a skill, and we can support them in growing that skill, or even get the skill become a mastery.
But would you expose them to like music classes first, just to test out or how they react to it? Like, do they like it or they don't like it, that kind of thing?
If you ask me, I would not. But I will bring her. Let's say we will like explore concerts, or dance shows, or maybe Broadway. Just let them see that these things are there in the world, and then when they actually like it, they may ask you more questions, or they may search for more information. Then we can actually go deeper from there, rather than I send you to a class to see whether you like it or not.
Okay, interesting. All right, so can you also share with us any tips and tricks, to help reduce maybe some of those unnecessary spending for first-time parents who might not knowingly spend something that they thought it's a necessity, but actually, it's not really necessary.
Yes, this is a very, very good point. Please do not enter Babyfest.
Okay,
yes.
What's that?
Babyfest company, they might not like me, but because maybe the current situation, we can't really go out, right? Try to stay away from those e-commerce app, because when we are pregnant, our hormones are really on the extreme ends, and when we would window shop, we would think that, oh, I like this, I can do this with my child, I can have this on my baby, this and that. There are actually a lot of marketing gimmicks or advanced tools that we actually don't need. I read an article online where they have this new app where it actually detects whether your child has pee or poop already or not on the diaper. So we don't need that. Our best tool to detect whether a child has pee or poo is our nose. So things like that. There is a lot of cute stuff out there that actually we don't need. And let me share with you. Let's talk about infants below 1 year old. They grow really quick, and there's actually don't need to spend on brand new clothes. One of the way, like our daughter, I only spend money to buy 2 clothes for her. Actually, the rest of the clothes are all hand me down. Like someone passed you secondhand, or you can try to seek out BNP groups online. They call themselves Buy Nothing Project, where there are actually families that are willingly to donate out like clothes or certain items that you need. So for babies, seasoned clothes are actually nicer to wear. So you just have to get a good detergent to wash them. That's good enough to go.
Now, when you said about buying the clothes for the kid, right? What are the sizes out there? And usually you would buy it slightly bigger, or how? So that they can, use it for a longer time.
Right. They really classify like newborn means like 0 to 3 months, and then you have 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, and 9 to 12 months. Well, yes, it's true that we have the mindset that we buy a bigger one and then we save money. We don't have to, they can wear longer. But when we put on a very oversized shirt on our kid, they actually can't really move proper because of the dangling shoulders and stuff. So the
not
proper
comfortable
size,
for them.
yes, it's not comfortable. Too tight also is not comfortable. Too loose as well is not comfortable. So the best is still try to get the size within their body frame. Yeah. So that's why I suggest instead of buying, we try to get secondhand or get hand-me-downs, because they only wear like really a couple of months, not more than 3 months usually, and then they will have to. I already kept a few batches of the old clothes. Now she's wearing a bigger size. Same goes to toys actually. You don't really need many toys for kids, but I'm not saying that they shouldn't play. They should play, but they don't really need too many toys to play with. 20 toys per time. 20 toys. There is a 20 toy rule. So a kid, so long they have 20 toys at one go in their drawer, is actually more than enough for them to rotate and play.
Now I also wonder, when is a good time to actually expose them to reading, like buying those kind of materials for them to read, or is it too early at,
Since newborn, instead of, we are not expecting them to read, but since newborn time, parents ourselves, we actually can open up the book and we read it out loud for them. And you might be surprised. There are actually pretty nice newborn books out there. They are not colorful, but they are mainly black and white, because that was what newborn can see when they are young. They only can see black and white and maybe shiny stuff. So even those is already like very stimulating for the baby, and they will be like very excited.
So they'll flip it by themselves to be curious
They
to check it out.
may not flip it, but you can see their micro expressions. Is like their eyes will go wide. Oh, this is something new that I've never seen before. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So besides the financial cost, what are the hidden costs that many might go through but didn't realize is part of the factor that they need to consider?
Another very interesting question here. I feel that there's actually a lot more opportunity cost besides the financial cost. One of the things is, for example, maternity leaves. I think most companies provide 60 days. It's a minimum. And I've known of certain MNCs, they provide up to 180 days. That is about 6 months, right? Paid maternity leave, which is actually wonderful, because if you ask me, 60 days is not sufficient for a new mom to recuperate from the wound and the whole process and to bond with their newborn. And imagine have to head back to the workforce during the baby's first years really reduces the chance to spend the time with your kid, where it's really, really crucial. There is a Dr. Garber, I think that's his name. He mentioned that when we spend the first 3 years right with our baby, the rest of the years is actually easier. what he said, what he meant by that is when we actually spend more time nurturing the child on the first 3 years, there may be some, sacrifice in terms of time wise that we have to do, but the kid can actually grow and thrive much better. So for some unfortunate case where maybe the parents really don't have time to spend time with their kid during the first few years, maybe due to work or financial issue, they may need to do, what do you call that, damage control for the remaining rest of the many years. So it's like value investing. We do it proper at the beginning, and then we get the fruit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's like really a long-term planning and journey.
Okay, so why not let's go for a short break before we wrap up this discussion. Stay tuned, don't go away. All right, we're back here with me, Ryan, your host for Bujang Broke. So, final question of the day, MJ. What would be your advice to our audiences who are planning to have a kid or more?
We sort of touched base at the beginning, but I would love to emphasize this again. Communication and discussion with the spouse is actually very, very crucial prior having a child or more. This is good to have an understanding where both husband and wife stand at the moment, not just financially, may it be mentally, physically, and value sets that are so important. To have, as we said, to have a child is actually a long-term commitment. When there is an over communication between married couples, there tends to be a better clarity and understanding. And this actually will help in tremendous ways for both parties, and the both parties can function at our best with our strength, knowing our weaknesses. So this is one line that I want to share with everyone or newly married couples and parents. Like, communication between the husband and wife or parent is a must. It's just like financial topics. Parenting topics are equally important. I understand that it's tough to begin with, but it is very, very necessary.
Okay, thank you so much, MJ. We learned a lot from you today. Like, as you mentioned, I also agree. When it comes to communication, both husband and wife need to talk more to know when's the timeline, or whether are they ready mentally, not just financially. And also, we discussed about the private hospital or the government, the pros and cons, how should they do it with the insurance together also, as well as the clothings for the kid, how we go about it and how to make it comfortable for them. So the show has come to an end, but we'll see you in the next episode to talk about I want to invest, but where or how should I start? All this thing is brought to you by TVS. I'm Ryan, your host for Bujang Broke, signing out.